Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel for more fascinating Reddit horror stories. Before we dive into these true Reddit stories, please subscribe to the channel as it's our channel goal to have 10,000 subscribers before the end of April. It will mean a lot. So let's dive into these disturbing Reddit stories that we will cover in this video. There was a face in the car window. We were driving at 75 miles per hour. There was a face outside the car window. We were going 75 miles per hour, and I was the only one that could see it. I don't know what else to say or do. I'm kind of freaking out right now. I'm writing this here because I need to empty these thoughts out before I go insane. Will I post it? I don't know. And it's not important. Right now, this draft is going to serve as my way of calming down. Let me start from the top and write down everything that's happened so far. My name is Cassie. I live in the middle of nowhere, Florida, with my boyfriend Sean and my sister Lisa. We just got done visiting my parents in slightly less middle of nowhere, Florida. We had a good time, but ended up staying later than we should have. Way later. I tried to convince Sean that we could just spend the night with them, but he felt like he was imposing. He's the type to avoid that at all costs, so he insisted on going home that night. And since we were Lisa's only ride home, she was dragged along too. So in the dead of night, around 11 p.m., we began the long 2-hour drive back home. Lisa has night blindness, and I, embarrassingly enough, don't have a driver's license, even at 22. So it was all on my poor boyfriend to drive us home. That's how we ended up in this situation. The three of us barreling down this empty country road in the dead of night, something straight out of a horror movie. We were about an hour into the drive when I first noticed it. Sean was focused on driving and Lisa had fallen asleep. So I was left to my own devices. I had exhausted any entertainment my phone could give and turned a tired eye to the window. At first, I didn't see it. At first, I just thought it was my own reflection or Sean's or something appearing in the glass. It was hazy and distorted, like I was trying to look at something under rippling water. But the longer I stared, the more clear it became. That's how we ended up in this situation. The three of us barreling down this empty country road in the dead of night. What started as a pale, formless shape took on more clarity, like it were emerging from the shadows to make itself known. Edges became more defined, features more apparent. A wisp of hair, the hollows of eyes, the bridge of a nose, the contours and shapes of a face. The second I realized it wasn't my reflection, I shot upright in my chair, my eyes going wide as I continued to gaze at the strange apparition. I blinked hard and rubbed my eyes, thinking I must have just been tired and seeing things. But when I opened them back up, it was still there, even clearer this time. Though still too fuzzy for me to make it out clearly. But there was no ambiguity left in what it was. It was a face. A disembodied face that seemed locked to the window. It didn't bob like it was floating or move like it was traveling separately from the car. It's like it was locked to the window, keeping perfect pace with us. We were going way too fast for anything to be doing that normally. My eyes quickly darted over to the speedometer. 75 miles per hour. And yet, there it was. A face in the window. Sean, I said, grabbing my boyfriend's arm. Sean, what the F is that? I held his arm for dear life, the hair on the back of my neck standing on edge. What the F is what? Sean asked in return, his eyes only briefly leaving the road to look in my direction. The thing in the window. What is that? It looks like a face. Sean took another glance at the window I was so horrified at. A longer one this time. But his eyes eventually returned to the road. And with a shrug, he said, I don't see anything. I was utterly shocked and frankly kind of pissed off. The face wasn't exactly difficult to see. It was quite obviously there. Are you blind? It's right there. It's practically touching the glass. My head swiveled, darting back and forth between Sean and the face. I couldn't comprehend how he wasn't seeing it. Sean took one last look before shaking his head. Babe, there's seriously nothing there. Are you sure it is not just your reflection? I started to get angry by this point. I slapped his arm, which elicited a pained yelp from him. Do you think I don't know what my own reflection looks like? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't see anything. Exasperated and annoyed, I turned back to window and locked eyes with the creepy face once again. I stared at it, long and hard, really double-checking to make sure I wasn't just seeing things. But I wasn't. It was there. The details were hazy, but it was there. It couldn't be Sean's reflection because he wasn't facing the window, and it didn't follow my head when I moved. The face had become even clearer in the past minutes. I could make out more of it now, more of its entire head. It looked misshapen. Something was wrong about its shape somehow. My heart was starting to pound. Fear was gripping my heart. What was this thing? Was I just losing my mind? My sister must have woken up from our shouting, because I heard her stirring in the back seat, before she let out a bleary yawn and leaned forward. Arms on the backs of our chairs, head leaned forward between them. "What are you two yelling about? Are we home yet?" She mumbled, still groggy and tired. "No, we've still got another hour," Sean replied. "Cassie is just seeing things." My sister turned to me with a raised eyebrow. "I am not seeing things. It's right there. Lisa, look." I leaned back in my chair to let her get a look at the window. "Do you see it? In the window?" Lisa stares into the glass, narrowing her eyes and leaning forward. "No, I give up. What am I looking for?" I dropped my head into my hands, frustrated and scared. Sean and Lisa tried to comfort me, but I wasn't having it. I didn't know why I could see it and they couldn't. Was I genuinely having some kind of breakdown? I kept my head down for a while, eyes shut tight, not making a sound aside from the occasional whimper. I think I must have dozed off at some point, because I startled awake sometime later from the jostling of the car over a pothole. At first I wondered if it could have been a dream, but I could feel it. I could feel its gaze from the window. The unmistakable feeling of being watched. I didn't want to look. I didn't, but I had to. It felt like I was being compelled, like something was yanking me towards it, forcing me to look. Morbid curiosity? Or was it something else? I finally stole a glance at the window against my better judgment. It was still there. And now, it was even more clear than before. I could make out more details that I couldn't last time. Raw, red skin, blood oozing from exposed muscle tissue on its face, burn marks on its charred scalp, hair that's still singed with fire. I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry and scream and get out of this car. But my panic was put on hold as I noticed something else. The face was rapidly becoming clearer, faster than before. It was coming into focus so fast I could watch in real time as its full face emerged from the haze. I was glued to it, unable to tear my eyes away. It's like I was paralyzed. My eyes opened so wide they practically hurt. As we passed by mile marker 428, the face finally gained its full appearance. For just a moment, it became perfectly crystal clear, only at that very spot, before it quickly began to fade away, back in a blurry mess, fading quickly, as though to just give me a quick peek. But that one glance was more than enough. The face had revealed itself in full to me, a gruesome, deformed mess. I could make it out with complete clarity. The side of its head smashed in, caved through like a collapsed building. Blood seeped through torn hair that was scorched black by fire. The face itself was raw and red, skin almost completely torn away, leaving nothing but bleeding, burning tissue and exposed bone. Its nose was torn away, and one eye was completely missing, leaving nothing but a grotesque and empty socket. Its mouth full of broken, shattered, and bloodied teeth. The face was so horribly deformed that I couldn't even make out if it was a man or a woman. It barely even looked human at this point. I finally lost control of myself. My stomach heaved and I vomited all over my lap and the floor of Sean's car. The next few minutes were a chaotic blur of shouting and puking. I vaguely remember Sean pulled over onto the side of the road and got out of the car. I tried to plead to him to just keep going, to ignore me and drive. But he stubbornly refused. I couldn't stop from retching long enough to argue. I watched with dismay and horror as he walked around to my side of the car, the face still blurry in the window, and yanked the door open. And it was gone. The face was no longer in the window. That was 2 days ago. I had written it off until now as just a hallucination, or a dream. It didn't really make all that much sense, but it was better than the alternative. I was perfectly content to seal the memory away and live on in blissful ignorance. But that little delusion was shattered just a few hours ago. I got a call from my mother. Lisa had been in a terrible, terrible car accident this morning. The wreck was so bad that they were having to drive out to identify her body. The police said she was barely recognizable from the injuries. That would have been bad enough until they told me where the wreck happened. Right next to mile marker 428. I'm avoiding seeing her body at all costs because I'm so scared that if I see my sister now, I'll know who that face really belonged to. Children in the forest. As a new resident of Essex County, Massachusetts, I was well aware of its horrifying history. Between Salem and Ipswich, I was fully prepared to tackle the colonies of witches and sea creatures of Lovecraft. Well, that's what I told my 7-year-old daughter. Being alive at this point in history has its upsides, such as having the highest life expectancy in human history. But there are also downsides, like having a daughter who has access to the internet. Since my divorce, Lila has needed access to a phone. Despite my attempts at monitoring her online usage, she's smart. Going to be smarter than me one day if I do this whole parenting thing right. Not even 20 minutes after telling Lila about the move, she came bursting into the living room, demanding that we stay put here in Rhode Island. It's been perfect in the Ocean State for us. It's quiet, the grocery store, movie theater, gym. Everything is just a short drive away, and there's a pretty good school system. However, finding work as an IT employee has been difficult. Even after submitting 50-plus applications with nearly 7 years of experience in the field, you'd think I would be swept up right away, but that's not the case for me. So when I got offered a position for nearly $80,000 a year, I jumped on the opportunity. Lila has never had to move out of the state before. My partner and I separated about 2 years ago now, and even then, we both moved no more than 20 minutes away from one another, so that Lila didn't have to move schools or adjust as much. Telling her that we'd be moving nearly 2 hours away was difficult, but in the end, she didn't seem to mind at the moment. If anything, she seemed excited to help me pick out an apartment. No decision gets made without my little girl. But anyway, after our conversation and her eventual barging back into the living room, I had to convince her that no witches or eldritch beings would come to capture us in our sleep. Lila's always been creative. She's either nose deep in books or drawing with the special art pencils I got her for the winter months. After some quick thinking, it seemed like only a potion could keep us safe. So I quickly made my way to the kitchen to create a protection spell. Nothing some good old showmanship couldn't create. Some pink lemonade, ginger ale, a small splash of Tabasco sauce, and some fancy glasses would do just fine. I don't think the spice was all that necessary, but it seemed to create a nice little extra dash of realism that made Lila's face pucker up when she downed the potion. Just like that, we were safe in her little world. We moved right at the end of June. I wanted Lila to have the time to adjust to the new state and not immediately have to jump right into being the new kid at school. Our new townhouse was nice. It had 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, perfect for the 2 of us. The kitchen was spacious, and the living room offered plenty of space for both of our random hobbies and activities. What I really enjoy is the amount of space there is behind the townhouse. There's a lot of natural beauty in the area, with plenty of trails and bike paths to choose from. Lila currently has the goal to become a soccer player, so having plenty of yard space proved to be a nice bonus for us both. I would never let her go out there unsupervised, of course, but I'm home often enough that she doesn't complain. On the downside, there was the occasional field mouse that would find its way into the walls, and the landlord would have to set out traps to keep them from causing too much damage. Like I said earlier, I was lucky enough to get an IT job at one of the local colleges. I'm sure you could figure it out if you dig hard enough, but I'll try to maintain some level of privacy. The college has a daycare and youth program that gets taken out of our paycheck if an employee is interested in the facilities. Seeing as we now live a few hours away from Lila's last babysitter, this was really the only option. Much to my relief, they had plenty of opportunities that she grew to be excited about. With my daughter taken care of, I was able to focus on work. In all honesty, it was easier than my last job, had better benefits, and paid more. For a few weeks, things went great, perfect even. Lila made some friends at the youth program, and work was everything that I wanted and then some. Plus, if I'm here in 10 years, Lila could pretty much become a student with minimal costs. Because of a power outage, we were able to leave the office early for the day, only by 2 hours. But getting out at 3 is much better than at 5 p.m. rush hour. Lila is more than excited for the change of plans when I propose we hike one of the trails behind our townhouse. Her response nearly deafens me with her shriek. On the drive home, I notice her furiously typing away on her phone, no doubt telling her friends back home about our plans. It's around 80 degrees, but there's a nice wind that provides a nice breath of fresh air. The trail's almost entirely shaded, so luckily for us, we won't really have to worry about sunscreen. It's the moments like this that I live for, really. Everything I do is for my little girl. Each giggle, every smile makes everything I do worth it. When we get home, we rush into the house to change into appropriate workout clothes. I cannot wait to take off my polo shirt and pants and switch them out for a loose shirt and shorts. Lila waits patiently in the living room for me, nose deep in her phone, not even realizing when I stand in front of her. I laugh and say, "Seems like outside time is just what you need right now." "Sorry, Dad, I'm just texting with my friend right now." "I'm just glad you have some friends to chat with. You meet them from the youth program?" I don't want to be nosy, but it's my job as a father to be, of course. "Mm-hmm. His name is Jay. We met outside when Miss Sarah took us out for tag." She stands from the couch and leaves her phone on the small table beside her. "I'm ready when you are, Dad. You always take so long to get ready." I jokingly roll my eyes, and this gets a giggle out of her, and I'm soon chasing her to the front door. It's true. When we get home, I take off my tie and just sit at the edge of my bed for a moment to close my eyes and take a few deep breaths. It's tough being an adult. Sometimes a moment alone can be a lifesaver. Lila runs ahead of me, and I jog after her. I'm not really worried that she'll run out of sight. There's not really anywhere she could go off to, but even so, she always stays in my line of sight. We make our way onto the well-worn path, and I take a nice deep breath of fresh air. Pollen coats the air, and I can tell that flowers are sprouting up nearby. It just smells fresh and healthy out here. We go at our own pace and take in the surroundings. Every so often, Lila will ask me about a random flower that she sees or questions me about what type of bird might be calling. More often than not, I don't have the real answer to her questions. But a good response of, "What do you think it is?" more often than not, satisfies whatever answer she's looking for. We must have been walking for close to an hour before we start circling back towards home. We didn't make it all that far, in all honesty, but that just means we have less of a distance to walk back. The both of us have been quiet for a little bit, enjoying the peace, when a sudden feeling of concern goes through me. I look towards Lila, and she seems to be doing just fine, balancing on a fallen log beside the trail as we walk back. I look around our surroundings and don't notice anything out of the ordinary. It's been a year or so since I've last had an anxiety or panic attack, and by how fast my heart begins to beat, I can tell that the exercise must have triggered something. I make sure to tell myself that I know exactly what's going on. My elevated heart rate probably just triggered an attack. There's no need to be concerned. It's a beautiful day, and if I need to sit down, I can sit down. I've told Lila about this type of situation and what to do. Just take it easy. Don't panic. Be calm, and get an authority figure if needed. When I pull myself out of my inner thoughts, I'm caught off guard when Lila isn't in front of me. I stop and immediately turn around, spotting her standing just off the trail and staring into the woods. "You okay? What's going on?" I try not to let my panic show in my tone. When she doesn't respond, I walk over to her and kneel down. "You good, sweetie?" Her face looks pale, like all the blood has drained from it. I fix my gaze to where she is looking, but don't spot anything. "What is it? You're starting to worry me." After opening and closing her mouth a few times, she says, "There were kids out there." But she couldn't finish what she wanted to say and finally turned to look at me. "Daddy, I want to go home." That's when I knew something was really wrong. She hasn't called me that for a few years now. An immeasurable sense of dread washes over me. It feels like something is watching us. Occasionally, there are mountain lions and sometimes brown bears in the area. But this feeling is something entirely different. I snatch up Lila, and she wraps her arms and legs around me, burying her face in my shoulder. I take off down the trail back towards home. "Lila, I need you to tell me if something is following us." I snap, eyes darting to each side of the trail. I feel her head move up, and she immediately shrieks, "Dad!" I plant my feet in the ground and quickly turn around, ready for whatever it may be. My gaze tilts down, and no more than 5 feet away from me are two small figures, both of them young children, one boy and one girl, standing in front of me, both of them looking no more than 14. It's like I can feel their presence as they stand unflinching. Right away, I can tell that the dreadful feeling is emanating off of them in waves. They are both wearing long sleeves and pants with no definitive branding or anything on them. Even so, with the skin that is exposed, they look sickly pale in the shade of the trees. They are just children. They can't do anything to me. But then, why am I so terrified? It's like I'm caught in the view of a deadly predator. What do you want? Are you lost? I ask. It's clear that they are the ones controlling the situation. At the same time, both of them speak with a dull buzz, coding their words. We lost our friend. Have you seen her? Their voices don't have the tone of a question, more like they already possess the answer. We haven't seen anyone. It's just been me and my daughter. I force the words out of my throat. She can be our friend. They speak at the same time again, taking a step towards us. My eyes widen when I finally meet their gaze. Their eyes are an endless void of black, taking in whatever sunlight dribbles across their orbs and reflecting nothing back. All I can bring myself to say is, no, she can't. My body is trembling, and I can feel Lila's nails digging into my neck. I hesitantly take a step back, keeping my eyes locked on the pair. When they don't do the same, I take another. I keep walking backward, afraid to even blink and have them leave my vision. Eventually, I'm forced to, and when I open my eyes, they are gone from sight. When we make it back to the apartment, I immediately lock the door and call the police. Each step away from where we saw the kids, the feeling of dread lessens. I'm not sure what to tell the cops other than two lost kids were roaming the woods looking for their friend. I give them the best description I can, but I can't bring myself to tell them about their eyes. The rest of the day goes without incident, but that doesn't stop me from being on full alert. I wait for a knock on the door or for that horrible feeling to come back, but it doesn't. The TV stays on the rest of the evening. I'm afraid of sitting in silence, and I think Lila appreciates it too. Even she stays in the living room with me the rest of the day, rather than disappearing into her room. I don't even say anything when she gets lost on her phone. Another episode of my show ends, and I've given up sleeping at this point. I know I'll have to call out tomorrow, but at the very least, if Lila was still interested in going to the youth program, I could tap. In the silence of the credits, a minuscule noise barely whispers into my ears. Tap. I wipe whatever fuzz could be in my ears and mute the TV, daring for the noise to happen again. My heartbeat lightly drums in my ears, but much to my annoyance and relief, the noise doesn't happen again. I sigh, standing up from the couch. At the very least, I could try and grab a book maybe and do some reading, anything that will help me with tap, tap, tap. I freeze in place. It's not in my head. I know I just heard that come from somewhere. I rush to the front windows and push them aside. Outside, all I can see is the well-lit walkway outside the house, and my pale reflection staring back at me. I let the curtain fall, trying to swallow the concern that's making me want to empty my stomach. There's the faintest sound of hushed breath, and in the quiet of the night, it may as well be alarm bells. So, this is it, I think. This is how I finally go mad in this world. A sharp creak immediately brings me back. It was the sound of a window opening. I sprint to Lila's room, cold sweat coming down my forehead as I push the door open. She's kneeling on her bed facing the window, curtains swept aside and frozen in place. She's opening up her bedroom window, and for a few seconds, I see someone standing outside. The three of us freeze in place. For just a few seconds, we all pause, looking at one another like deer in headlights. One immediate thing became clear. That was not a child outside her window, but an adult man. Before I can consciously make a move, my instincts take over and I rush over to the window. The man dashes away before I slam the window closed and lock it. Lila immediately starts crying, and I take her into my arms. Over the next few days, I quickly came to realize just how close I became to losing my daughter. The second week after we moved here, Lila made herself a new friend at the youth program. His name was Jay, and he was the groundskeeper for the college. At least that was his cover. Most days of the week, Jay would come visit the college and make his rounds around campus. always making sure to say hi to his little friends whenever they were out. He'd wait and sit on a bench just outside of view from where they went out to play tag and get their outside time. He'd offer them little gifts or snacks. He always had a uniform on, so he was a trusted adult. When I took Lila's phone, they've been exchanging messages for weeks now. He'd send her photos of animals, message her goodnight, say things to her that make my skin crawl just talking about it. The night he came to the house, he told her that he'd be taking her to a special stargazing event. She wouldn't be allowed in if she told me no adults allowed, it was something just for the kids and him. The police were able to find the identity of who Jay truly was. His real name was Thomas, and he wasn't a groundskeeper at the college. He was a failed farmer who lived on the outskirts of the state, never holding down a job for too long. They raided his home, but it was empty by the time they got there. He had a barn where police found evidence of other kidnappings, but they were never able to find what he did with the other children he took or how many children he ended up keeping there. He knew everything about our schedule. When we left, when we went home, what days of the week I had off. He knew about the divorce. Everything needed to steal my baby girl away from me. He would have succeeded. I would have lost Lila. I would have never seen her again if it weren't for what we saw on the trail. Safe to say, Lila's phone got taken away. She got a long lesson from both me and the police to never do what she did again. The scary thing is, I don't know if that'll be enough. Her school issues out laptops for its students to complete homework and take care of schoolwork. She eventually will need to have her own phone again, and social media is its own horror story. After that night, I didn't trust Lila's safety again in this house. So I asked for my ex-partner to take her until I could move away and find another job. I just can't shake this nagging feeling that things will never be the same again. If it weren't for those kids we encountered on the trail, Lila may not be alive today. I just have this feeling that something even worse is waiting for me with each passing day.